Hello, Dr. Michael. Welcome. Hello, Maria. Hello, Shuyang Chang. Hello. Hello, Dr. Michael. Hello, Dr. Maria.
Yes, hello, good afternoon.
Welcome to the conference.
Yes, thank you.
Let's wait other to join. Hello, Ming. Hello, Ming. Welcome. Hello, Shuyang Chan. Hello, Dr. Michael. Hello, Ming. Am I audible? Ming Chang. Am I audible? Hello, Shuyang Chang.
Hello,
Welcome, Madison.
can you
Emma.
hear?
Welcome to the conference.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. Good afternoon or good morning.
Yeah,
There,
it's afternoon here.
afternoon. Yeah, here also good afternoon. Yeah,
Good afternoon.
the internet seems like not stable, so sometimes bounce in and bounce out.
No issues, no issues. Dr. Michael, am I audible?
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to
I'm
the
okay now.
conference. Yeah, good morning to you too. Welcome to the conference, sir. Mr. Edison, am I audible to you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Welcome to the
Okay.
conference.
Fine. Thank you.
So we are starting the today's conference. Welcome to Eurasia Research online live conference. Dr. Michael, we would like to
Yes.
request you to introduce yourself.
Yes, well, good morning to everyone who is already attending. It's so early in the morning. I'm talking to you from Montreal, Canada right now. It's 2:30 in the morning. So
Okay.
nice to be with you. So I'm an executive coach. I'm president of the Cambridge Association of Manager in the UK, and I'm a certified doctor in business administration. I've been in that business of helping people, helping athletes, and helping business people, mostly senior manager in company, to improve their performance. And today, naturally, it's a very interesting conference. My topic is mostly how to address the mental health issue that is growing up in the world. And that's a little bit about it. So, of course,
Thank
we're
you for
going to know and
introduction.
then
Thank you so much for introduction, sir.
pleasure.
Maria Arlene, we would like to request you to introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon. I am Maria Arlene Emberania. I'm here now in the Philippines. Okay, I am representing the Universidad de Manila, Manila City, Philippines. And I have been in the academy for 25 years, and it's my first time to join an international conference. And it is my pleasure to be joining you this afternoon.
We are
Thank you.
glad to have you. Thank you for a lovely introduction. Xuan Cheng, we would like to request you to introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shu Yun Zhang from the Taiwan, and I'm from the Department of Marketing and Tourism Management, and associate professor. And yeah, I have been doing my a job for more than 20 years as well. But this is the first time I attend the online international conference. Very honored to be here.
We are glad to have you. Thank you so much for your introduction. Mei Cheng, we would like to request you to introduce yourself. Ming Chen, am I audible to you?
Hello everyone, my name is Ming Chen. I'm come from Jiayin University, from Taiwan.
Thank you so much. Moving ahead, Edison, we would like to introduce. We would like to
yeah.
request you. Yeah.
Good morning and good evening, everyone. My name is Adison Yimsuk. I'm from Thailand. Actually, right now I'm living in Japan right now, but I'm Thai, and I'm a graduate student of IT management, Mahidol University. My bachelor degree is mechatronics engineering. Is quite like totally different from the IT management. And I did some research about policy model analysis, policy model during the COVID-19 for my master. That's
Thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. So today we have presentations and participants from 6 countries around the world. We are broadcasting this conference on Facebook Live on multiple pages of Eurasia Research. The links for the chat sessions are shared in the chat box. Please allow me a moment to introduce Eurasia Research to you. Welcome to Eurasia Research International Conference. With over more than 1 million satisfied members and associates spread across the globe, Eurasia Research is a scholarly association who have been working for nearly a decade. Eurasia Research has organized several successful international conferences, workshops, and training programs at various reputed institutes and grand venues. Eurasia has been tirelessly working for research work and have not been stopped their endeavor during COVID era, have presented research community with online platform, which was safe and convenient method to continue their passion. We are an international community of researchers, practitioners, students, and educationalists who aim to bring together worldwide researchers and professionals, encourage intellectual development, and to create opportunities for networking and collaboration. These objectives are achieved through academic networking, meetings, conferences, workshops, projects, research publication, academic awards, and scholarship. We provide a scholarship to deserving candidates to promote students, research scholars to participate in the international conference. Young researchers scholarship is provided to the form of a full registration fee waiver. We have vast experience of publishing papers for more than 7 years. Our associated journals publish original papers, review papers, conceptual framework, analytical and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, technical notes, and book reviews. We cater to more than 30 plus themes in the area of teaching and education and have registered ISSN and have following renowned indexing, Google Scholar, Crosscheck, Authenticate, Crossref, the Keeper's Registry, Script, Portico, Road, OAI, PMH registered, data provider, PKP index. We will be soon be applying for Scopus too. We have a wide network of 100 plus international acclaimed keynotes across the globe who have shared their knowledge, guidance with our participants with open hands. We have a large number of committee members and advisors who support us and guide us through their expert opinions and decision-making capabilities. We couldn't have thought of reaching here without them. We also encourage our participants to connect with more than 115K plus followers on our social media platform where they can share their research interest, join our Facebook group, and be a part of the discussion by researchers and academicians. We also have several collaboration with universities, colleges, and institutes to better serve all interested and like-minded intellectuals. With great enthusiasm and pride, we would like to announce our latest project, which is the Terra Fellow Program in Education. The program offers an opportunity to learn the key concepts and latest trend in the teaching industry from the academic. We would like to share some of our past participant experience with you. Thank you for your patience and valuable time. Moving forward with the conference. My name is Vaishali. I will be your host for today's conference. We have a small welcoming video from our Terra president, Dr. Laina Shelley, PhD Dean of Educate and Professional Studies, Lasalle University, Newton, MA, United States. Moving ahead with her presentation, with the video, sorry.
I am Dr. Lynn Shelley, and I'm currently the Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies at LaSalle University, as you can see in my background. And I'm currently the president of Terra Eurasia, and I've been involved for multiple years with the organization as a participant, as a speaker, as a keynote speaker, and as the president. And I'm very proud of the organization because it brings people from all over the world globally together to talk about issues that affect higher education and other areas in education and other areas, nonprofits, etc. And we talk about issues and successes, and together we can make it better and make it always be improving. And I always say ever evolving. COVID was very difficult for all of us. And being in administration, I had to assist faculty in an immediate way to pivot from a face-to-face delivery of classroom time to electronic and Zoom and so forth. Many of these faculty members had no idea about the Zoom platform or any other learning delivery modules, the way that they could be delivered. So the administration really had to step in and pivot quickly. And I think overall, and talking to my colleagues across the globe, I feel like they did a wonderful job doing that. I have to say, I don't think it was the same for the students, which is sad. Preschool all the way up through PhD, I think it was difficult. I think it was less difficult for graduate students in master's and doctoral programs because many of those were already online, so there wasn't much of a pivot. But I'm going to say pre-K through the baccalaureate was very difficult, and teachers and administrators were amazing. And I do think our students that lived through that need extra attention, and the research is bearing that out right now. And that's our jobs to try to find ways to make sure that we fill those gaps. I'm going to be very honest. I'm a people person. I'm a relationship person. I thrive on making real eye contact and making real connections with people. I much prefer an on-the-ground conference, a face-to-face conference. I did the keynote for this organization in London last April. I'm doing it again in London. I'm making that commitment to make that trip because I so deeply believe in the relationships and the bonds that are formed, as well as just during the conference, getting to know people and seeing different perspectives rather than just seeing it on a screen. Encourage them to attend a Eurasia conference in general, because I believe in the organization. I'm president of the organization right now. I would encourage them to attend. If they couldn't attend in person for financial or schedule or whatever reason, I would encourage them to attend, but I would encourage them to attend in person first, but always, and I continue to do that, encourage them to attend. Nothing but good things to say about the conference. Pre-COVID and last year, I did not attend an online conference, so I can't comment on that during COVID, but I can comment on pre-COVID and my experience last year in London. I truly find that the way it's organized in groups and the group work that goes on is different than just to sit and listen, which is what attracted me and why I said yes to becoming president. It's organized in a way where it encourages that collegiality and that sharing of ideas and that sharing not only of the research that you present, but in small groups to broaden that discussion. So the way the conference is organized is well done. Often I can't stay for the whole time because of my busy schedule, but I do stay for the one day that I keynote, and the participation is phenomenal. And other conferences that I've attended, as well as done keynotes, as well as done breakout sessions, they don't organize them that way. Yeah. I organize my breakout sessions and keynotes in other organizations that way, because I feel from my learning styles research that I've done and published on, it's the best way people learn.
So since 2019, when I finished the studies at the law faculty of Tirana, I started working as a
Before we move ahead, we have a small video from our eminent speaker. Moving ahead with the video.
internal teacher there, and it's been now 13 years that I'm teaching in international private law as though intellectual property. I gained my master degree after 4 years of finishing the faculty, and on 2015 I got the PhD. So I got the doctorate in juris in the field law, so in the field of international private law, actually, more specifically. So I've been teaching at the faculty, and I also work as a freelance lawyer, giving consulting and everything that might be needed. Going into a conference, like physically, it takes not only time, but also the effort to arrange all other things in which you cannot join. Which means if you do because it's gonna take the same time to prepare yourself for a conference, the research, the editing, the presentation, it will take the same time. But the day of the conference, it is very important, or let's say useful, to have it online. It is shorter in time. It is more productive because everybody talks in line. There is a plan. But usually in the physical conferences, you need a full day. Let's say you can start on 8 and you will maybe the ending ceremony will be at 6 p.m., which means it will take all of your day, and not of all the time it is as productive as it is on the online conferences, because you will chit chat here, you will give another opinion there. So you talk like 15-20 minutes, and then all the other part is just a leisure, let's say it some words, when you drink something, when you enjoy your lunch. While in the online conference, it's more useful, it's more productive. You do it, you interchange ideas, then there is an ending, and that's it. Then you can continue your work, your job, your agendas, whatever it is. So in my opinion, actually, since I'm doing not only the lecturer job, but I'm working as a freelancer for counseling, law counseling and everything, let's say a lawyer, and I have also a family to run. For me, and I think for other moms, but not only moms, people who are busy with work, online conferences are a blessing. Since I have a very vast, let's say, colleagues number, because as I told you, I work in the faculty and we are like almost 100 colleagues there. I work with many clients and with many other colleagues outside of the office. I am aware that they are all following online conferences mostly, because it's time consuming if you want to go in a physical one, because sometimes they are not in the same country. We have to travel abroad. We have to arrange many things. It's the conference might be in one day, but you need 3 days for that. 1 day to go, 1 day the conference, 1 day to come back. So I will definitely propose not only the online conferences, but actually even the Eurasia ones, because I felt very comfortable with this conference. I'm glad, and I will always be a member so I can join even more conferences. And I'm very pleased that I was chosen to be the eminent speaker. And I was also chosen to have the best paper presentation. So it was a pleasure for me, all of this experience with you. And I will definitely propose it to my friends and my colleagues. What can I say more? It is the best positive thing I could say, because as I already mentioned it a little bit before, I felt at home. I didn't expect it at first, but then we had that conference and it was so joyous. We gave those comments, we gave our research, we had questions and answering, and that was perfect for research to be presented in such a welcoming place, and in such a, because everybody regarding the conference part was very involved into that. I remember I exchanged like 100 emails with Dr. Flora Charles. She was like running everything. I felt comfortable, I felt welcome, and I'm sincerely giving 0 to 10. I'm gonna give 12.
Academic, yeah, we shouldn't stop.
Thank you so much, Laura, for your kind words. Moving ahead with the conference. Next, we have our second eminent speaker for the day, Mr. Tengku Sembok, Department of Computer Science, Faculty of ICT, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Moving ahead with his video.
With research and present our finding in conference. So for I think more than 2 years, yeah, was all this what I call it, yeah, pandemics, yeah. So I still do my research and be able to go online conference, yeah, and suddenly I saw this conference in London.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm excited to go and meet, make friends over there and also attend the conference. So yeah, I think we should move on doing our research and presenting our finding, whether it's physical or
online.
visual.
Yeah.
Advantages and disadvantages. Yeah, the advantages is we save time, we save money. Okay, the accommodation, the flight, yeah, and we can attend any conference. Okay, even though we are busy in our work, no need to take leave only that particular time, you know. No need to travel, yeah. So we can be online, presenting our papers, and listening to others, right? It helps a lot. The disadvantage is we cannot see the members of our research community physically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost the physical
Connection.
Yes, interaction. You know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, only that part. Yeah, but as far as the virtual conference, I think very good. And also because of the pandemic, there are new norms being created.
Yes.
The conferences and also this what I call it, learning online.
Yeah.
You know, which is quite positive things. Yeah, happening. Yeah. Very much. Yeah, very much I encourage. So maybe we can go to more conferences.
Yes.
You know, online. We can attend more conferences because it costs less money. Or no, because I think so. Yeah, we can save on the flight ticket and also the accommodation. Because it's a multidisciplinary kind of research in social science, so it went beyond our specialization. Okay, so the new things that you learn, what other people are doing outside our specialization, and also I got interested. Maybe some of the idea I can relate to my research. Okay, and the methodology, the thinking, the ideas. Maybe we can use some of it, and also to meet other researcher from all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, from United States, Canada, India, Estonia. You know, many Algeria, and in that conference, of various background.
Moving ahead. Today's conference schedule will be session 1 will be the technical talk, session 2 team activity and photo session, session 3 will be the technical talk. We request you to rename your Zoom account in English. This will help us to record your presence. You may ask your question related to the presentation in the chat session while the presentations are going on. All the certificates, receipt, and proceedings will be sent to the participants within a week on their mail IDs. The proceedings will include all the full papers and abstracts accepted for the conference. Moving ahead with the publication process. The publication process starts when the registration process is complete. The author needs to send their papers, consent form, and reviewer detail on the given email ID. The review report will be sent to the author once the review process is over. The final stage of publication starts after receiving the revised papers from the authors. Please note that the publication process takes around 50 days after the conference date if all the editorial guidelines are followed within the given deadline. Next, we have uh, our first keynote for the day is Dr. Michael Gagne, Oxford Association of Management in the grade of Certified Doctor of Business Administration, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. His topic will be My Way of Helping People Living with Mental Health Conditions. Dr. Michael Gagne is originally from Quebec. He is a high-performance lifestyle coach and consultant, a mental preparation coach with Canadian Olympic medalist athletes, a management trainer in international corporate circles, and a speaker and facilitator for more than 50 years. He has worked in Canada, Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean. An excellent motivator, Michael has been working with several Olympic medalists and athletes from Canada and abroad since 1972. Mukin Olympic Games has been an advisory. He has been an advisory trainer and coach of several Olympic coaches from Canada, the Caribbean islands, Sri Lanka, India, Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. He was involved in the Montreal 1976 Olympic Games as manager of the training venue. He started getting involved in mental preparation for Olympic athletes in several sports in Canada and abroad from 1972 until now. Moving ahead with his presentation.
My topic would be mostly how can we help people with mental health problems. Since the pandemic, there's been an incredible increase in mental health situation. And just a little bit of background about myself, I'm an executive coach. I've been based in Malaysia for 30 years, currently back in Canada. And actually, COVID has destroyed my whole business. I was on a face-to-face type of business, one-on-one type of coaching. And of course, all the health restrictions that we face all around the world, involving more than 140 countries in the world, where distancing was the rule, no close proximity with people, 2 meters at least between people, and wearing masks, isolating ourselves, not communicating, and relying more on the virtual reality, virtual world versus living a real world. Naturally, mental health statistics based on the World Health Organization, we've seen an increase considerably of more than 28% of people with depressive syndrome and more than 25% in people with anxiety disorder. And of course, first is to look at it. Many people have a tendency to relate mental health issue as the cognitive aspect of it. And it's all in the mind, they say sometimes. But we have to realize that the brain, now we know that the brain is not only in the head, we have a brain in the heart and we have a brain in the gut. And of course, mental health situation involve more than the thinking process. It involves also the emotional aspect of it. And mental health conditions include mental, neurological, and substance use of disorder, suicide risk, associated psychosocial, cognitive, and intellectual disability. So naturally, it's easy to recognize when people are in a very detrimental mental health condition. They normally retract to themselves, they isolate, they don't talk to people, and they really are stuck in the world. Life sucks for them. And of course, one of the main aspects we recognize is people don't have the strength to face the reality of what's going on. And we call it subconscious limiting belief that people have. So they feel not worthy, they feel they're too short, don't have money, don't have education, come from a poor background, are from a developing country, and so on. So there's a deep belief that you do not deserve happiness and success. Many people feel success is for others, never for them. And of course, we live in a society now that is becoming, thanks to artificial intelligence and the new communication technology. We live in a mass society, which is finally the all collective of all the human. And in this world, naturally, we realized, and COVID was the best example, society is controlled by a small number of people, institutions like the media, clergy, or capitalistic organization, United Nations, and of course, World Health Organization. And if we look at what's happening in Ukraine right now, NATO, North American Treaty Organization countries. So few people try to control and want to run the world. Unfortunately, never allowing discussion about what's going on and is there other opinion than their opinion. Naturally, we live in a world where degrading morality and integrity is increased. Right now, I'm back in Quebec, my hometown, when I say, and it's very similar to what's happening anywhere else in the world, where political representative, public health authority, or institutional official are showing alarming signs of inconsistency and corruption, justification, failing scientific health, energy, or instruction. Naturally, we've been lied about this COVID situation, and the whole purpose was naturally controlling people, controlling and limiting the human right and the freedom of society all over the world. It's like we live our life, but we are held by invisible string. And actually, mental health is sometimes associated with this. People feel so desperate, feel out of control of reality, and that's why they become so anxious and so depressive of what's going on in their life. So let's look a little bit what it is all about. One thing we know, there is a theory that is called the London Protocol of Emotion. Naturally, there is basically eight big emotion. And of course, if you are depressed, you're on the left side of the curve. If you are positive in life and not depressed, but feeling whatever happened in the world, you feel good about it. And one thing we know now, it's all linked with the internal nervous system, not the conscious one, the cognitive one, but the mostly one controlled by the amygdala, the emotional brain. And of course, it's all going back to the fight and flight brain. So finally, it's the battle between the parasympathetic nervous system and the orthosympathetic nervous system. But unfortunately, right now, the tendency with mental health situation in the world, people have to look at it on a psychological aspect. People need psychological, but in the fact they need more how to reconnect with the sympathetic nervous system, the joy of life, versus the parasympathetic nervous system, withdrawal from life. So the mind is the king of the senses, but the breath is the king of the mind. And very funny, how to rebalance parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system is linked with breathing technique that are at least 3,000 to 4,000 years old from India with the pranayama. So the thinking brain, unfortunately, we live in a world where the thinking brain is considered the most important thing. The average brain is believed to generate up to 50,000 to 65,000 thoughts a day. And of course, part of it is we are controlled by over 250 cognitive bias, limiting belief and distortion of all kind that cause the thinking and act irrationally. And unfortunately, of the thousands of thoughts a person had every day, most of them are negative. It's estimated that 70% of the mental chatter is negative, self-critical, pessimistic, and fearful. So not surprising why people are so depressed and so mentally ill more and more than ever. people have too much emphasis on the thinking brain without realizing that, you know, we can increase knowledge of people, but you cannot have them made them thinking. Do you think about thinking? Most people think, but they don't know where it comes from. And of course, 95% of your decision take place in your subconscious mind. Now, neuroscience has confirmed this. And of course, happiness is an important factor, but people have no clue where happiness comes from. Happiness is not a thought. Happiness is based on hormonal. It's in the body happiness. And actually, we know there's a tendency right now in the world. Many people go back to drug or alcohol or all kind of eugenist type of approach to find back happiness. How to increase dopamine, endorphin, oxytocin in the body, and serotonin. But all these are rarely taught out of the psychiatric field. Average people have no access to this knowledge. And this is why we can help people, making them recognize you don't need to take drug, you need to do activity that will stimulate these drug inside your own body system. All these drugs are produced by your own brain, but you have to know what to do. Or you have to come back like this picture, relying on drugs to feel happy, to feel good, and to feel less depressed. And like right now where I am in Canada, there's a tendency of opioid suicidal increase, because one way to treat all these depression and anxiety is to take opioid type of medicine, which is freely available in pharmacy and of course very available on the black market, which is artificial way of solving it. One other aspect is to realize that the importance of brainwave. The brain have different kind of frequency, and theta brainwave are very important. Up until the age of 6 or 7 years old, our brain spend most of its time in theta brainwave state, the state associated with hypnosis. And it's only after 6 years old that our brain start filtering information. But at that time, our subconscious has already been tuned. So our childhood programming quietly control our entire life. That's why 95% of our thought have finally been programmed when in the first 6-7 years of our life. So depending on the environment we were born, well, we have inherited a very strong subconscious mind or a very weak subconscious mind, which is why to explain that mental health is a serious issue in society right now. Theta is also comparable to hypnosis. When we were young, the first 6-7 years of life, we watch our parents, we copy them, we watch our siblings and we copy them, we watch our relative and community and we try to adapt to them, because we have to learn thousands of rules from where we are born. Of course, language, habits come from there. So to be a member of your family and your community, we have to behave like them. If you were born in another society, another community, it will be different. So the first 7 years, you just observe the rule and you download it into your nervous system, and you will be having this for the rest of your life. This is what we say. It's all subconscious after. Nothing new. You know the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of Robert Kiyosaki. Rich or poor, it is unconscious behavior downloaded from our poor family or rich family when we are kids. So if you're lucky to have been born in a rich family, you have rich family values and attitude and habits. So 95% of our life comes from the program of life. How to live the life that we get in. Everything comes from the first 7 years of life. That's why poor people are poor and rich people are rich. Every human for 7 years is a download to hypnosis. And that's why people are trapped today. They don't know what's happening. It is not logical for them. That's why it is subconscious. 95% comes from those programs in our subconscious mind. Every day, only 5% of the life you are living is used consciously, which is creative in nature. And it has nothing to do with positive thinking. It has to do with programming when we were young. And that's why we have to work on it. The solution is we have to reset your mind. But how to reset the subconscious mind? I cannot go back in my early years. Conscious mind is creative and it can learn in many numbers of ways. You can read self-help book, it doesn't help. You can attend lecture, it doesn't help. You can go to retreat, you can do all kind of things. and the conscious mind get more aware, but it doesn't mean you can reprogram your mind. So Carl Jung, famous psychologist, one of my mentors, or should I say, said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So naturally, how long does it take to become conscious of the unconscious? You can spend your whole life trying to do it, but how much do you remember of the first 7 years of your life? Everything you heard, you witnessed, has been recorded, registered into the hardcore of your nervous system. So how to reset? Naturally, it's to go back to the subconscious mind. It learned in two ways. Hypnosis. Of course, you can go to meet an hypnotherapist. You can learn about self-hypnosis and recreate the mental state of when you were a young child. After 7 years, naturally what to do is repetition practice in theta. Theta is important, is the brain frequency of the child brain. Positive thinking, if it is done in the conscious brain of today, it's in beta frequency. It doesn't have the same impact. Positive thinking, everybody say you have to be positive, but it's more than that. It has to be done in a special frequency. And that's why sometimes we say you have to fake it until you make it, or even until you make it. And you have to be like childlike again. Solution is reset your mind. How to reset? By repetition. And repetition in the subconscious mind, brain frequency of operation. That's what people do. Affirmation, gratitude, journaling, and everything. Repetition is an habit, day by day, in every way, better and better. It's not a suggestion, it's a repetition. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. You have to make it a daily habit, religiously an habit, repetition in theta, like a child. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat in theta. Theta frequency is now mostly available. You can download this kind of wave. You can download music, and to put yourself in an environment where your theta brain frequency will be activated. If I look back in Quebec, Quebec people have a very interesting situation. This is my birthplace. This is where my ancestor came from Europe in the 17th century. And many things are happening. I've been away in Asia for 30 years. And when I came back in 2020 because of COVID, I had a shock to see what happened to my country, what happened to my people. Today, the population is 8.5 million people. Very interestingly, we have 9 million cats, 11 million dogs for a population, 8.5 million. Many people will say, wow, that's a lot of cats and dogs for such a small population. But when you will see, it's one of the way to raise dopamine inside the body is to just pet an animal, to have an animal, and just to cuddle the animal, increase these hormone of happiness inside the human body. Many people do it unconsciously, but now and more it is doing that. Zootherapy is a very good form of therapy. Another thing very interesting that's happening in my society of my parents come from very big family, 10, 15, 17 children from one father, one mother. Now there's mostly no marriage. Everybody live in what we call free union. And now the women have their first child on an average at the age of 27 years old compared to 1670s about 100 years ago. And it's mostly single mother because marriage is considered old-fashioned. It's a disgrace to a housewife. Now everyone to live their own life, and now women have child very later in life, and most of them are single parent. So what's the problem with a family? What's the problem having a male in the house? And that's not the only interesting thing in Quebec. Naturally, COVID was a very interesting thing. Now we live in a world we just experienced the last 3 years. I call it the marketing success of the COVID vaccination. I don't call it the pandemic of COVID. I call it the success of the COVID vaccination in the world. And it comes from the success of marketing. We all been screwed. So the art of inflicting pain is the strategy to increase sale or to increase buy-in by the population. Fear, naturally, fear of being left out of society. Naturally, distanciation. they came up with the vaccination passport. You were not allowed to travel, take the plane to go to places. You were not allowed to go shopping. You cannot be allowed to go visit your family for the holiday season. And you cannot meet your business partner. And actually the fear of losing face or of increasing competition, it was not allowed to compete. You know, the athlete who went to the Olympics went to the Olympic in stadium in Tokyo, in stadium without crowd. And I know athletes who were successful at the Olympic, they totally failed at the Tokyo Olympic. Something was missing. The crowd was not there. You know, performing under pressure means under pressure. They remove the pressure. And without the pressure, many athletes lack the stimulation, the activation of the orthosympathetic that is required to perform. And of course, greed is also another important part of inflicting pain. For more sale and money, people were vaccinated. Here in Canada, many companies, including the government, if you're not vaccinated, you lose your job. They were firing people. You could not go banking. You could not do nothing. For getting more public awareness, you had to be vaccinated. No vaccination, you were out of society. And actually for spending less and getting more for profit and for ease of effort. Naturally, if we look at how successful the campaign was in Quebec, well, remember 8.5 million population with just first dose of vaccine was 7,541,000, which is 87% of the population were vaccinated. So if you're selling a product and 87% of the population buy it, are you making money? Are you successful? So our politicians naturally were more concerned by getting everybody vaccinated than by looking, does the vaccine really work? Many people were not even aware that the vaccine was experimental. It was not even proven. And even now, 3 years after, we know that those vaccinated were more easy getting COVID than those non-vaccinated. And those vaccinated could not even prevent to transmit the disease to others. But the campaign was successful. They created fear. If you're not vaccinated, something is wrong with you. So people were rushing in Quebec to get vaccinated. That sometimes we always say Quebec people are just a bunch of sheep. They do everything that is told to them. They don't have the capacity to make their own decision. They don't think rationally. They're totally controlled by the authority. So their freedom of right have disappeared completely. And I would say, based on that, I would say dopamine is the name of the game. And how you get it? Well, by eating. Right now, since I came back, when I was in Malaysia, Malaysia was recognized in Southeast Asia as the population with the highest number of fat people. Suddenly in Quebec is the same thing. 30% of the people are overweight. And out of this, 50% are really fat, very obese. So it is becoming now the new norm is fat. Before people were slim because that was it was to be healthy. But suddenly eating became a way to compensate and how to be happy, eating well and be happy. And of course, naturally stimulating adrenaline activity, completing a task, goal setting and everything. Endorphin is very important. And endorphin actually is what we get, by listening to things and to be happy. And of course, oxytocin and serotonin. I won't get into the detail. And of course, the picture you see me, this is 1984 Los Angeles Olympic game. And at the time, I was just starting working with mental preparation of athlete. And for me, everything is in the mind. And of course, what kind of mind today I would say? Everything is in the orthosympathetic, the positive side of the brain. And it's all linked with breathing. And it's to be happy to be alive and to enjoy life. And of course, is to realize that we are not sheep. We're not there to follow the crowd. We are here to follow our own path in life. We are on earth for a purpose. And I will wish you a great conference. Talk to you in the different topics.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michael. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something?
Not really, because it's a topic that can take days and days and days and days. It's very hard to summarize such a big topic. And of course, there is many approach. My approach is neurophysiologic, and it's not a thinking process for me. It's a neurophysiological process, and people have to recognize that, you know, being traumatized is a stressful situation. And I've been a student of Dr. Hans Selye, the famous, you know, founder of the concept of stress in the world. And for him, stress is not a psychological event. Stress is a physiological event, is what is the impact in the body of being exposed to stressful situation and event. COVID has been put, you know, very strongly around the world as a very stressful event. The fear of dying, the fear of transmitting the disease, the fear of having the disease, and so on. But we forgot that the most important part was what is the impact in the body of this. And mostly, very rarely, we hear people talking about the impact on the body. And the impact on the body, naturally, it's the body is 30 trillions of cells working in harmony together. And it go back to the breathing concept. And they were saying people had difficulty to breathe, and they were giving oxygen to people. But people who know physiology know one thing: in the air we breathe, 20% is made of oxygen. But when we inhale 20% of oxygen. When we exhale 16% of oxygen. So the human body absorbs only 5% of the oxygen that is available. So where the rest go? The rest is just exhale. The problem in our society is people breathe too much. They exhale too much. That's why they feel, I don't have enough air. That's why we gave them oxygen. It's not the oxygen. The problem is the incapacity for the cell of the human body to absorb the oxygen that is in the blood. And why this is happening? Because we exhale too much CO2. But we live right now in a situation where climate change is blamed on CO2, CO2, CO2. But CO2 is life on Earth. Nature lives on CO2. Trees absorb CO2 to give us oxygen. So CO2 is not bad. CO2 is life. Living is producing CO2. We absorb oxygen and we exhale CO2. And it's good CO2 that make the trees living. Trees die without CO2. But right now, the politician and everything have taken climate change as one of the biggest issues in the world. Climate change, climate change. Climate change has been since the history of human race, since the history of planet Earth. Of course, it takes days to elaborate and to argue and disagree on this topic, because there's so many views, scientific and non-scientific. And one other aspect that right now science has been overused. Everything became scientific. Taking the vaccine was scientific. The vaccine has never been tested. Even the virus of COVID have never been isolated in most countries. They were just accepting what World Health Organization was telling them. And no country, including Canada, with all our doctors and scientists, have isolated the virus. They were taken for granted. Oh, the World Organization is saying it, so it's true. And it's scientific, so it's true. Was it? No, it was not. And that's why I would say that's all I can say. I would say it's time we recover, we rediscover that we have the right to critique, we have the right to argue, we have to demand explanation, we have to demand proof, real scientific proof. Give me evidence. Even they were using everybody should wear a mask. Now we are in Canada, 3 years after, we have forest fire all over. People are naturally affected by the smoke produced by the wood fire. Now they recommend to use the N95 mask as the most protective from the particle in the air. But during COVID, they were not recommending N95. Why? Because our government were making these other masks that are non-surgical, and they were making millions selling these masks and giving these masks for free. In Quebec, 7 million masks were distributed per week to the children in school. And for 3 years. So do you know how much money this is represents? 7 million a week, 52 weeks a year for 3 years. Who benefited from this? Somebody make huge profit. Politicians were bribed, to approve these recommendations. But during that time, they never recommended N95 mask as the only mask that was proven to protect from the absorption of very small particle in the air. Today, suddenly, they recommend this. So why suddenly the N95 is good and 3 years ago it was not? Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning. Unfortunately, mass society is controlled by small number of people for their profit, their benefit. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the health of the people. They only care about what they get out of all this. And that's why it's time for humanity to go back to take control of our own self. We think with our own brain, and we have to become more and more conscious of what's happening around. Stop being affected by external factors that we don't control. The only thing we can control is what's happening inside us. And we have to make our own decision. Is it good for me? Is it good for my family? And we have to stop being sheep following the crowd. We are in the herd mentality period of humanity. Everybody wants to be part of community, 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 community. What kind of community? The world is living in difficulty. And you saw the numbers of people who become more and more traumatized. It's increased by hundreds of millions per year in the last 3 years. What are we doing about it? We continue scaring people. And now we scare people that Russia is the danger and China is the danger. Atomic world is waiting. Everybody is expecting an atomic bomb to destroy humanity. Why do we accept that? Our politicians sell us this. We've been screwed by these people. It's time people retake power of their own thought and our own decision. So when we go election, it's time we elect people with pure mind, pure heart, and pure action. Not only positive, pure. We are from the divine. We are here to bring the divine on earth, not to bring hell on earth. Right now, in many parts of the world, it's hell on earth. Why? Because it's difficult for people to live there. Now, immigration all around the world is becoming the big thing. People want to leave their country, want to get out of their country, want to go for a better world. And a better world seems to be always somewhere else. A better world is inside us, not outside. We bring happiness, we bring joy, we bring the divine wherever we are. We have to be the sun that we bring in the world. It is not in another country that's happening, it's happening inside us. Wherever we go, we have to bring joy in life. We have to be the sun. We have to reflect the beauty of the divine on this planet. And I would say that's all. If you leave me, I would spend the whole day talking. I have so much to share and to acknowledge. And so I just, that's about what I have to say.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights about the topic. It was very helpful. Thank you, Dr. Michael. Please put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. Moving ahead with the conference. Next, we have our team activity and photo session. Let's proceed toward our team building activity. Sometimes we miss the opportunity to connect and linkage with fellow participants of the conference. This team activity is to encourage interaction among all the participants. One by one, we will share the views and solution on the topic of discussion. We will also be conducting a photo session during this event. Today's topic of discussion will be, is multitasking better or worse? Video and copyrights are credits BBC idea. We are playing the video.
With life getting more demanding and hectic all the time, it seems there's only one way to cope: multitasking. Gurus and life hackers make a living telling us how to get better at it. But can we actually multitask? The term was first used in the 60s to describe computer performance. The human brain, though, is not a computer, and human attention is a very limited resource. Some psychologists model visual attention as being like a spotlight. It can only be shone in one direction at any one time. Our primary focus, what we're paying most attention to, is like the brightly lit area in the center of the beam. It can also be understood as being like a zoom lens. We can choose to narrow our focus to concentrate in detail, or widen it to be aware of more things simultaneously. But we can't be zoomed in and out at the same time. Even though we're constantly receiving a huge amount of information from our senses, it's only possible for a small amount to make it through to conscious awareness. Watch the next section very carefully and pay particular attention to how many balls bounce in the circle. How many can you count? 7, right? But did you also notice that little dinosaur? What about the changing shape of the circle? Or the smiley face on one of the balls? This shows just how powerful focused attention is. Being able to filter out irrelevant detail is an amazingly useful tool, but it means we can miss things that are right under our noses. An effect known as inattention blindness. You can see this very clearly in the famous invisible gorilla experiment. When asked to concentrate exclusively on how often basketball players in white pass the ball, most people completely miss the gorilla walking across the screen and beating his chest. We just don't have the capacity to process everything at once. This is a particular problem when we try to multitask. We can switch attention from one task to another and back again. But when attention is overloaded, we miss things. And the result is nearly always that we perform tasks less well than we would doing them one at a time. It's only truly possible to do 2 things at once if they require different sets of cognitive resources. For example, it's totally possible to read a book and listen to music at the same time. Which would suggest that driving while talking on the phone is not a problem, as long as it's a hands-free phone. It's not that simple, though. Research has shown that while talking on the phone, we have a tendency to create mental images, and this uses the same visual resources needed for driving. And if visual resources become too stretched, it's perfectly possible for a driver to look directly at a hazard, but, just like with that little dinosaur, fail to see it. Not everything will make it through to conscious awareness. So multitasking makes us at best inefficient, and at worst, downright dangerous. If you're feeling like you should be doing 17 things at once, remember, that's just not the way your brain is wired.
That was the video. We would like to request everyone to start your cameras and turn on your mic. We'll start with Edison. Please share your view.
Well, I think to answer this question, I think in my opinion, I agree with that video. I think it's worse. There are more adverse points than the benefits. The reason is, I think, as a human, we are designed to have limit memories. It's like we cannot remember everything in our entire life. So when we do like multitasking tasks, like when we do multiple tasks at the same time, so it's easy to get lost of our memories. Like finally, somehow our focus will turn to like inefficiency. So I think we should change from multitasking to prioritizing. For my personal experience, I had done some experiment with myself. Like I found that when I try to memorize vocabulary, I can remember or I can memorize vocabulary more when I just try to reading books. But in the another way is like when I reading book with some kind of eating, that I cannot memorize anything at all. So that's why I think we are designed to have a limit memory. So we are not suitable for multitasking.
Everyone is different, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you for your views. Maria, Arlene, would you like to add something? What are your views?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vashali. Okay, so for me, when you say is multitasking good or worse? For me, as a homemaker, I would say that multitasking is something that is favorable for me. Why? Because I can do things at the same time. As the definition multitasking says, it says that putting your focus on more than one task and doing it at once, whether exactly at the same time or through repeated switching back and forth between tasks. So as a mother, I can do multiple tasks at the same time, like cooking multiple meals, putting the laundry. Also, I can communicate with my friends using the telephone, and of course, I can iron the clothes while watching watching TV or movies. So for me, I can do it effectively because you don't need to have focus focus your brain on different tasks. You can do them all at the same time. But also as a dentist, I can say that multitasking is also effective because in such a way that I can browse the x-ray while doing treatment planning for my patient, and also sterilizing my used instrument using the autoclave. So multitasking is also something that is good. But for me, when it comes to learning or when it comes to being a student or an education, I think as a student, it would be important for us to give our full attention when it comes to learning. Thus, in studying, we have to focus, okay, on the details to effectively and cognitively comprehend all the informations and to gain knowledge accordingly. Thus, my idea of multitasking for students is I have my reservation when it comes to that. I would rather suggest that they will do single tasking because many says that multitasking hampers productivity, and I agree with that, notwithstanding the brain that can only focus on details. So that's all, and thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Michael, would you like to add something?
Well, I would say from my 50 years of experience working with Olympic athletes, to perform at the highest level is to be single tasking. The only task at hand should be the focus. Everything else is a distraction factor. And it's about it. I agree with Marriott. You know, there's a lot of things that we can do, but do we do it at 100% perfection, or we do it so and so? Yes, we can do many things at the same time, but do we do all of them as the best we have ever done? When I work with Olympic champion, you have to be not only the best in what you do, you have to be better than the others. And to be better than the other, you have to be more focused than the others. And I would say, yes, we can do many things. And regarding memory, memory is not in the brain. Memory is an holographic process of the brain of the multifunction. So it's three-dimensional. So, and multitasking is a distraction, as I said, for athletes. We teach them to be focused, focused, focused. And as the video show it, the visual cortex is the best example of what focus is all about. And that's what I would say. Yes, it exists, multitasking. And yes, it comes for a computer. But we have to realize that on the screen, there is only one thing at a time. How can I talk to you if I'm looking at a movie at the same time? Yes, I can look at a movie at the same time, but my focus will be shifting from the movie, from listening to you, shifting, shifting, shifting. But how can I achieve the best in something if I'm always shifting from one thing to another one? And that's why me in my field of work, I would always try to get the athlete realizing what is distracting you from performing. And we analyze all these distraction factors and we try to eliminate them from the thought process, from the emotional process, so that you stay focused on the task at hand. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. And we agree with you.
So it's like it depends on situation. Right?
Yeah.
If like small tasks like house chores, anything we can do for multitasking. But if like for at least we have to focus on training or special thing we have, I think multitasking is not suitable.
Definitely.
Mm.
Shireen Chang, please share your views.
Yes, as a teacher at university, I think it's very hard to draw my students' attention. So anyway, now focus on one thing is very hard for us, even in a modern life, because even now I have 3 computers on my desk while I'm listening to people's speech. In the same time, actually, I'm marketing my students the dissertation as well, because this is the final, like at the end of the semester. Normally a lot of students doing their defense, their dissertation defense actually. So my time is very tight, so actually I have been occupied by so many matters, but I know this is like become like a daily routine. Everyone has to dealing with so many matters at the same time. However, I still believe paying attention is very important practice. How can we train young generation to focus on one thing? So actually, during the summer vacation, we have been prepare our our lesson for new semester, and this is kind of challenging. How I feel like how can I prepare my lecture be more attractive to my students, and therefore they were not doing like a mobile phone and doing chatting via mobile phone or other devices, and paying attention on my talk. So anyway, but seems like now this is challenging to everyone in different industry. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mingye Chan, am I audible to you?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Oh,
Would you
okay.
like to add something? Please share your views on the topic.
Okay. Impact of multi-thread can vary depend on the individual and the spatial text involved. Some studies suggest that multitasking can lead to reduced productivity, increased error, and higher level of stress. This is because driving attention amount must still text can result in discrete focus on concentrate. I think multitasking should depend on individual ability and adaptability, as well as the division of labor in the team. Otherwise, capable people will have to take on more responsibility.
Thank you so much for sharing your views. Thank you all for actively participating in the team activity. Let's proceed with the conference. So our first presenter for the day is Maria Arlene Bernia, College of Arts, Science, Universidad Manila, Manila City, Philippines. Her topic will be challenges in the implementation of school-based management of developing schools basis for a compliance framework. Moving ahead with her presentation.
Division of Bulacan. A blessed day to everyone. In behalf of the principal author, Dr. Archelin Semanero of Santa Maria West District, Schools Division of Bulacan, Philippines, and co-author Dr. Ricardo Reyes III of the College of Education, Universidad de Manila, Manila City, Philippines, I, Dr. Maria Arlene Berania, co-author too, is grateful and honored to present our paper entitled Challenges in the Implementation of School-Based Management of Developing Schools, Basis for a Compliance Framework. To begin with, school-based management, or SBM, is a strategy that focuses on the improvement of every public school's general performance in education by transferring significant decision-making authority from central offices to individual schools. Most countries adopt school-based management to enhance school systems. In the Philippines, school-based management is a Department of Education trust that decentralizes the decision-making from the central office and field offices to individual schools to enable them to better respond to their specific education needs. School-based management has 4 principles being implemented: leadership and governance, curriculum and instruction, accountability and continuous improvement, and management resources. The leadership and governance, which pertains to the performance of the school, to provide a development plan developed collaboratively by stakeholders of the school and community and the school, is organized by a clear structure and work arrangement that promotes shared leadership and governance and define the roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders. The curriculum instruction involved the teaching and learning process in school, teachers' competencies, and learners' performance. The accountability and continuous improvements, which validates the clear, transparent, inclusive, and responsive accountability system, is in place. Collaboratively developed by community stakeholders, which monitors expected and actual performance, continually addresses the gaps, and ensures a venue for feedbacks and redress. Lastly, the management of resources assesses the school's resources that are collaboratively and judiciously mobilized and managed with transparency, effectiveness, and efficiency. The challenges in the implementation of school-based management are a normal occurrence and have to be addressed. In this study, the researchers opted to analyze the challenges of the Level 1 schools in the implementation of school-based management and aim to propose a compliance framework that may strengthen and improve the school's school-based management implementation. Please take note of the following keywords. For the method, the study was conducted in 5 Level 1 schools regarding school-based management compliance in district schools, divisions of Bulacan, Philippines. This study is qualitative research that utilized the descriptive design. Document analysis was employed to describe the level of compliance in school-based management of each schools. To find out the challenges encountered by the schools in the implementation of the school-based management, a survey interview using semi-structured interview question formulated by the researchers was performed by the school heads and SBM coordinators. Data gathered from the school document and interviews with respondents were organized, tallied, tabulated, and for interpretation and analysis. For the results, first is the level compliance of participant schools in school-based management. The compliance level of the SBM practice of each school is rated on the following numerical ratio scale. 0 for no evidence of performance, 1 for this evidence indicates beginning structures and mechanisms are in place to demonstrate a child and community-centered education system or access. 2 for evidence indicates planned practices and procedures are fully implemented and aligned to access. And 3 for evidence indicates practices and procedures satisfy the quality standards. The overall average rating for SBM practice is interpreted as follows. 1 to 1.49 is interpreted as level 1 or developing. 1.50 to 2.49 interpreted as level 2 or maturing. 2.5 or to 3.0 is interpreted as level 3 or advanced. The table shows the level of compliance of participant schools in school-based management. All schools are in level 1 or developing status. The evidence of the school-based management practice of the schools indicates the beginning structures and mechanisms are in place to demonstrate access. Usually, small schools are at this level due to limited resources in terms of funds and support from the stakeholders. According to Santos, the gaps and needs in this level in terms of SPM performance are clearly visible because of limited support as the main stakeholders, such as local government unit and local school board, prioritize big schools in terms of fund allotment. In other words, schools with level 1 performance indicate poor enactment of transparency and low value of support mechanism. In the 4 principles of school-based management, leadership and governance guides the education system to achieve its shared vision, mission, and goals, making them responsive and relevant to the context of diverse environments. Curriculum and learning system anchored on the community and learners' contexts and aspirations are collaboratively developed and improved continuously. Accountability and continuous improvement mean having a clear, transparent, inclusive, and responsive accountability system in place, collaboratively developed by the school community, which monitors performance and acts appropriately on gaps and gains. Management of resources, on the other hand, are collectively organized, judiciously mobilized, and managed with transparency, effectiveness, and efficiency to support targeted education outcomes. Along with these 4 principles of access, the SPM practice involved within the context of differentiated practice as created and affected by the variation in the typology of schools, leadership quality and characteristics, resources of the community, diversity of learners, and extent and depth of community involvement. The variation in the typology of schools, like the small schools, affected their compliance within the SPM requirements. Next are the challenges of the school-based management. The table shows the responses of the respondent that lead the researchers to determine the challenges encountered by the participant schools in the implementation of the school-based management in terms of leadership and governance. School number 1, encountered challenges in guiding teachers in proper implementation of school-based management. School number 2, encountered challenges in school heads' role in providing guidance to teachers and parents and establishing open communication with the parents. School number 3 encountered challenges in the implementation of schools' plans, monitoring the execution of these plans. School number 4 encountered challenges in the engagement of the local community in the school improvement planning. School number 5 encountered challenges in the initiative of the school district officials. The next table shows the respondent that lead the researchers to determine the challenges encountered by the participant schools in the implementation of the school-based management in terms of curriculum instruction. School number 1 encountered challenges is the adequacy of learning technologies. For school number 2, the challenges is appropriateness of learning materials for their learners. School number 3 encountered challenges in providing evidence of learning outcomes and performance improvement. School number 4 encountered challenges in financial resources to support curriculum instruction. In school number 5, the challenges in upskilling and retooling teachers. Another table shows the responses of the respondents that led the researchers to determine the challenges encountered by the participant school in implementation of the school-based management in terms of accountability and continuous improvement. School number 1 encountered challenges in financial and time constraints. For school number 2, encountered challenges in complying with the pertinent documents and periodic reviews of the appraisal mechanism. School number 3 encountered challenges in continuous improvement and projects and familiarity of the schools in the implementation of the school-based management. For school number 4, encountered challenges in the performance, evaluation tools, documentation protocol, and recording of outputs, and continuous school progress and improvement. School number 5 encountered challenges in the commitment of teachers to their work by providing equitable compensation for them. This table shows the responses of the respondent that lead the researchers to determine the challenges encountered by the participant schools in the implementation of the school-based management in terms of management resources. School number 1 encountered challenges in financial constraints. School number 2 encountered challenges in engaging the teachers and students in school programs. The schools also encountered challenges in soliciting support from the low-income earning family of stakeholders. School number 3 encountered challenges in the involvement of the community and limited support from the small stakeholders.
School number 4, encounter challenges in manpower and resources and engagement of the local community in school improvement planning. School number 5, encountered challenges in the insufficient school funds and the immediate support for the local government unit. Based on the result of the study, along with the combined views and suggestions of the respondents during the interview process, a proposed compliance framework was crafted by the researchers. The proposed framework is aligned with the principle of the existing school-based management of the school and was based on the challenges encountered by these schools. The objective of the framework is to intensify the implementation of the school-based management of the schools that may help elevate their level and general status. The framework consists of steps in achievement of every school's goal in becoming a high-level school. First is identify the challenge of the level 1 school. These challenges may include school head's role, planning, implementation, and documentation, competencies for teachers, improvement of instruction, community involvement, manpower, financial and time constraint, and commitment of level of teachers. Next is to map the obligation to areas of improvement such as effective school head, clear and achievable development plan, periodic performance assessment, curriculum instruction, collaborative activities, involvement of stakeholders, and commitment and accountability. Then, monitor the development and improvements. Next is to update and re-examine areas of improvement and assess if objectives were achieved. The salient items in each step of this framework will help the school elevate its level and general status. Based on the aforementioned result, the following conclusions were drawn. It was concluded that the actual performance of school study was way below the expected standards of the advanced level of school-based management, and that there is a need for improvement of these schools in the implementation of all the principles of the school-based management. The challenges that the school encountered in terms of leadership and governance include guiding the teachers in the proper implementation of school-based management, the school head's role in providing guidance to teachers and parents, establishing open communication, implementation of plans, monitoring of plan execution, engagement of the local community in school improvement planning, and initiativeness from school district officials. The challenges encountered in terms of curriculum instruction include adequacy of learning technologies, appropriateness of learning materials for the learners, evidence of learning outcomes and performance improvement, and financial resources to support curriculum instruction and upskilling and retooling of teachers. The challenges encountered in terms of accountability and continuous improvement include financial and time constraints, compliance with pertinent documents, periodic reviews of appraisal mechanism, continuous improvement projects, familiarity with the implementation of school-based management, performance evaluation tools, documentations, protocols, and recording of outputs, continuous school progress and improvement, the commitment of teachers through equitable compensation and involvement of stakeholders for improvement. The challenges encountered in terms of management of resources include financial constraints, teacher and students' engagement in school operations, support from the low-income earning family of stakeholders, involvement of the community, limited support from small stakeholders, manpower resources, engagement of the local community in school improvement planning, insufficient school funds, and immediate support from the local government unit. After analyzing the result and upon evaluating the aforementioned conclusion, it was recommended that school needs to conduct comprehensive training to the management and implementation of the school-based management system, and it is necessary to require school heads and teachers to attend related training on adequate supervision, curriculum development, and accomplishing monthly and quarterly instruction and supervisory plans. In addition, periodic monitoring of the school performance is needed to determine if the actual accomplishment of the school fully comply with the school-based management standard. Active engagement of the schools to the community is also recommended. Lastly, the implementation of the proposed compliance framework generated in this study is highly recommended to intensify the implementation of the school-based management to improve the level of the school from level 1 to a higher level. Before I end up with my presentation, I would like to acknowledge and present the following references used in the research that guided the study. And with that, I thank everyone for listening. If you have any question, please feel free to send your messages to the following authors' email addresses, and we will be very much happy to reply. Again, thank you very much, and a blessed day to all.
Thank you, Maria, for the wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something?
My name is Todd Holt, and
I would want that the recommendation would be follow up, like active engagement of the school community, periodic monitoring, because I want our form of education be improved, especially here in the Philippines, because people here, Filipinos, love to study and be engaged in school activities. So that's what I want. And I hope. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Moving ahead. We request you all to put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. Next presenter of the day is Mr. Todd Hull, Department of English, Hankook University of Foreign Studies, Seoul, South Korea. Topic: formulating and implementing communicative tests of foreign languages proficiency. You may read the abstract on the screen. He is unable to join us today because of some unforeseen reasons. We are playing his presentation. Moving forward with the presentation.
Hankook University. Hello, my name is Todd Hull, and I am an associate professor of English at Hankook University of Foreign Studies in Seoul, South Korea. The title of my presentation today is Formulating and Implementing Communicative Tests of Foreign Language Proficiency. In this presentation, I will talk about communicative teaching first before I talk about communicative testing. But before I even do that, I'll just go over some traditional types of testing. Then we'll get into describing communicative testing. After that, I'll talk about assessing performance on communicative tests. How do we grade our students on communicative tests? I'll give some examples of communicative tests, and I will outline how communicative testing can be done in a variety of learning and teaching environments. Communicative teaching. Well, communicative teaching involves learners engaging in authentic communication in the classroom. It is, quote, based on the idea that learning language successfully comes through having to communicate, meaning, unquote. That is a good succinct definition by the British Council. Rod Ellis adds that instruction, quote, needs to ensure that learners focus predominantly on meaning. So here the idea is that in a communicative classroom, students need to actually be communicating. They need to be doing what people do in real life, which is authentic communication. So communicative teaching does not involve things like reciting memorized dialogues, reading passages from a text out loud, and importantly, communicative teaching does not involve translating text from the native language to the target language or vice versa. Translating does virtually nothing for students' communicative abilities. What were some traditional tests and what were some of their limitations? Well, first of all, there was a unquote pre-scientific testing. So this is basically grammar translation tests, where basically the only test was having students translate either from the target language into their native language or vice versa. And again, this type of test is pretty much useless. And came along and developed what have been called psychosemantic symmetric structuralist tests. These are tests like multiple choice. One improvement here was that these tests were more objective, because with a translation test, the grade primarily rests upon whether or not the teacher thinks that translations are quote-unquote good or not. And they can possibly even be influenced by how much a teacher likes or does not like a student. Things like multiple choice tests are objective. It doesn't matter how much you like or don't like a student, an answer is either right or wrong. So that was an improvement. But those tests still didn't involve authentic communication. Then there were integrative tests, and those were tests like closed tests. Now, in closed tests, where students have to fill in the blank, those have the advantage of requiring students to actually process real language, but while an improvement, they still did not constitute actual communication. So, what is communicative testing? Well, the best formulation came from the University of Hawaii Manoa Professor James Brown, and he lays out 5 criteria for communicative tests. I consider the first 3 of his criteria to be absolutely mandatory, the 4th to include as many of its components as possible, but not all if not possible. And the 5th should be included when possible, but it is rarely possible, as I will explain later. First criterion is meaningful communication. In a communicative test should involve and require meaningful communication. I'll elaborate on that later. A communicative test should require unpredictable language input. Students shouldn't know beforehand what they're going to be tested on exactly. More about that in a moment. And the third major criterion is creative language output. So students should be required to have creative language output. Fourth criterion is to use as many of the 4 basic skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking as possible. Now that's great, but not completely necessary in my opinion. And the 5th criterion is an authentic situation. So mirror a situation that might occur in the real world. This is the hardest criterion to satisfy, and I think it is rarely achievable for reasons that I will explain later. Meaningful communication, what's that? Well, communicative test must involve actual communication, where students actually have to really communicate ideas. They have to really have real world communication. So that excludes fill in the blank or multiple choice grammar questions. That doesn't involve real communication. Asking students to answer comprehension questions, that doesn't involve real communication. Reciting a memorized dialogue or reading a passage of a text out loud, those don't require real communication. And translating, that doesn't require communication and is virtually useless. So for meaningful communication, learners must actually communicate to complete the test successfully. A communicative test has to require unpredictable language input. So students should not know beforehand what language they will encounter on the test, because in real communication, people do not know what the person they're talking to is going to say before they say it. Now, you shouldn't just throw things at random at students. All of the questions on the test should relate to things that have been addressed in class, but the specifics should be new to learners. Creative language output. In real life, people don't communicate by reciting memorized scripts. Language output on a communicative test should be situation specific, so it should be about the specific situation that the instructor asks on the test, and it should be in response to unpredictable input. And it should require output which is creative and unscripted, just like a real-life conversation would entail. Those are the three major criteria. Now, it's a bonus if you can use on your tests as many of the four basic skills of reading, writing, listening, and speaking as possible. It's great, you can do that, but it's not mandatory. The main focus should be on communication. Can students successfully communicate their ideas? So, try to integrate as many of the skills as possible, but don't do it if it'll make the test inauthentic or unwieldy. Authentic situation. This is the one that will be the rarest to be able to include because most courses don't allow authentic real-life situations like a hotel clerk and a guest or an airline counter employee and a passenger. If your course is revolving around that, then that's great. You can include it. But these situations are mostly possible in ESP courses, English for Specific Purposes courses. So how do we grade students on communicative tests? The main thing is to focus on learner success in communicating their ideas. In other words, focus on use rather than usage. What does that mean? Well, usage entails things like grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and focusing on usage docks students for grammar errors, poor pronunciation, etc. And that is not what we want on a communicative test. On a communicative test, we want to focus on how well students communicate their ideas. Now, instructors may want to include evaluations of things like grammar and pronunciation and vocabulary use as a small part of their evaluations, but it should just be a small part. Assessment should focus primarily on use, the successful communication of ideas. Okay, as mentioned before, ESP, English for Specific Purposes. This is the one context that can often fulfill all 5 criteria in ESP contexts. So, for example, a learner could practice being an executive assistant where they simulate various duties on that job. Other examples are the aforementioned hotel reception and airport check-in counter situations. Others might include bank tellers, postal clerks, and cell phone customer service representatives. If you have an ESP situation, by all means do that, but most classes are not ESP classes. Another communicative testing environment is CBI, which is content-based instruction. Content-based instruction involves learners engaging with texts and topics about a variety of academic topics like science, art, and literature, as well as current issues, history, and politics, etc. So in a CBI classroom, learners engage with material that was originally designed for native speakers, but is incorporated into a language learning curriculum. Example of a communicative test in a CBI classroom could be in groups of 3 or 4, students are given an opinion related to a topic discussed in class. For example, cultural diversity benefits my country. The students then respond to this opinion in writing, usually by agreeing or disagreeing with that opinion. Then each student tells their group members their opinions, and the group members have to listen and take notes. So this test constitutes meaningful communication because students actually have to communicate ideas and group members have to actually comprehend real ideas about real things. It involves unpredictable language input because the students don't know that the specific question was cultural diversity benefits my country. Maybe the question could have been cultural diversity is bad for my country. Maybe the question could be renewable energy is something that my country should strive for, something like that. So there's unpredictable language input. And then because the language input is unpredictable, Students are required to have situation-specific creative language output that speaks directly to the unpredictable language input. Speaking and listening skills are required both to communicate and to comprehend ideas. And writing is also used when students take notes. So that fulfills quite a few of the criteria of a communicative test and qualifies indeed as a communicative test. What if you are constrained by a non-communicative teaching environment? In some cases, teachers have to teach grammar-based curriculum or something like that. But even in these situations, communicative tests can be used. For example, past tense. Learners could relate a memorable experience from their past. They could tell their group members. Group members have to listen to that, take notes, and ask questions. That all involves authentic communication, listening, speaking, and writing. For countable and uncountable nouns, students could be given a list of nouns, both countable and uncountable. They could then write a story incorporating as many of those nouns as they can, making sure to use them correctly. Again, other students in the group would listen to their story, take notes, and ask questions. All of this involves authentic communication, unpredictable language output, creative language output, and the skills of speaking, listening, and writing. Comparatives and superlatives could be practiced by having students describe friends, family, celebrities, etc. And again, they would tell their group members their message, their stories, their comparisons, and the group members would listen, take notes, and ask questions. So all of these constitute communicative tests, even in non-communicative environments. So, communicative teaching should be accompanied by communicative testing. Just as real conversations involve authentic communication, unpredictable language output and unpredictable language input and creative language output, so should communicative tests. Communicative tests can be used in a variety of educational environments such as ESP and CBI, but they can also be used in non-communicative environments such as grammar-based curricula. So if teachers want to teach communication, they should also test communication, and they can do that in almost any environment in which they are put. Finally, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to present at this conference. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Total, for the wonderful presentation. Next, we have next presenter for the day is Shu-Young Chang, Department of the Marketing and Tourism Management, School of Business, National Chai University, Taiwan. The topic will be the influence of job insecurity on tour leaders' service behavior, examining the roles of fun at work. You may read the abstract on the screen. Moving ahead with the presentation.
Good day. My name is Shu-Young Chang, an associate professor from the Department of Marketing and Tourism Management at National Chai University in Taiwan. The research topic is the influence of job insecurity on tour leaders' service behavior. Research background. The global spread of the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in people's immobility. As such, tourism industry encounters unprecedented downturns. Therefore, tour leaders whose work is guiding tours naturally suffer the most. The work characteristics of tour leaders. Tour leaders usually encounter challenges associated with the seasonal fluctuations, and their salary is susceptible to fluctuations owing to off-peak tourism season. As aforementioned, worrisome prospects, many passionate tour leaders within the industry lose their original aspirations and opt to leave, making it challenging to retain high-quality talent. Therefore, the objectives of the research was to investigate the perceptions of tour leaders regarding the relationship between job insecurity, service behavior, and the workplace fun. The research framework, including three variables: job insecurity, workplace fun, and service behavior. Definition of variables. Job insecurity refers to the perception of an unstable employment relationship between an employee and an organization. When employees perceive uncertainty such as possible unemployment or lack of career development opportunities and salary adjustments, according to prior researchers. Prior research found, as a result of coping with the work insecurity, employees tend to exhibit reduced job performance. Job insecurity has an impact on employee behavior. Service behavior refers to the actions directly undertaken by service providers towards customers or organizations. Researchers further differentiate service behavior into in-role service behavior and out-of-role service behavior, primarily based on whether their service behavior is regulated by the organization. The relationship between job insecurity and service behavior. Employees experiencing job insecurity tend to exhibit lower work performance compared to those with job security. Analogously, these characteristics of insecurity can also impede professional tour leaders from investing in organizational and service behaviors. Therefore, it is crucial to pay attention to the influence of job insecurity on tour leaders. Workplace fun. Workplace fun has been recognized as a pivotal factor in an organization's success. A prior researcher defined workplace fun as any social, interpersonal, or work-related activity that imparts a playful or humorous nature, providing personal pastime, entertainment, or pleasure. Carl Ito, 2007, emphasized the workplace fun from the perspective of individual perception, pertains to an individual's subjective perception of enjoyment in their job. Employees who perceive their work as fun often exhibit higher levels of energy, tap into their full potential, and provide better customer service. The presence of fun at work can bring about joy among employees, leading to a range of positive outcomes. Given the unique working conditions of tour leaders, investigating their experience of fun at work while guiding tours and its potential impact on their service behavior would be valuable. Methodology: sample selection and data collection. qualified tour leaders who expressed their willingness to participate in the research survey were contacted. In total, there are 366 valid questionnaires were collected. All measures, all constructs in the questionnaire were assessed using a 7-point Likert scale, ranging from 1 strongly disagree to 7 strongly agree, which higher scores indicating a greater level of agreement. Workplace fun scale was measured using a scale proposed by Carl et al., consisting of 6 questions. Job insecurity scale was assessing using a scale developed by Hellgren, Sverk, and I. Sarkerson, 2010, comprising 7 questions that encompassed 2 dimensions. Service behavior scale, proposed by Cao and Lin 2004. This scale included 3 questions for both the in-role service behavior and extra-role service behavior dimensions. Data analysis. This study employed statistical analysis, including confirmatory factor analysis, structural equation modeling, descriptive analysis. Results. Common method variance test. The findings derived from the factor analysis, explicitly utilizing principal component analysis, reveal the absence of prominent factor, thereby indicating the absence of any CNV-related concerns. Reliability and convergent validity test. The internal consistency was confirmed if the composite reliabilities of all latent variables were above 0.7. Additionally, the confirmation of convergent validity was indicated by all average variances extracted surpassing 0.5, following the recommendations of prior researchers. Discriminant validity. None of the correlations between latent variables exceeded the square root of the corresponding AVE as recommended by prior researchers. Model fit. Prior to hypothesis testing, it is essential to evaluate the model fit to determine whether the constructed theoretical model can effectively explain the observed data. Based on these indicators, the data in this study align with the recommended standard values. Indicators are shown below. Overall, the indicators of the theoretical model in this study have reached a good fit. They are chi-square, GFI, AGFI, CFI, SRMR, RMSEA. In Table 3.3, the past coefficients reveal that workplace fun exhibits a statistically significant positive direct impact on service behavior, thereby supporting hypothesis 1. Additionally, contrary to expectations, job insecurity surprisingly demonstrates a positive effect on service behavior. Furthermore, workplace fun exhibits a significantly negative influence on job insecurity. This is the table testing of the research hypothesis. There were 3 hypotheses examining the relationship among variables. In Table 3.4, showing these findings collectively demonstrate that job insecurity partially mediates the relationship between workplace fun and service behavior. This is the table summary of results of the structural path and the mediation effect. Conclusion and discussion. This study primarily focuses on tour leaders as the main research subjects and examines the causal relationships between job insecurity, workplace fun, and service behavior. The relationship between job insecurity and service behavior. The majority of previous research indicates a negative association between job insecurity and behavior or attitude. However, a few studies have identified positive effects of job insecurity within organizations. The results of this study also demonstrate a significant positive impacts of job insecurity on service behavior among tour leaders and practitioners, which aligns with the concept of job preservation motivation proposed by Scholz 2017. According to Scholz, when employees experience job insecurity, they may engage in more diligent work behaviors to gain recognition from top-level executives and prove their value to the employer, ultimately aiming to secure their stability. Relationship between workplace fun and job insecurity. When tour leaders derive a higher level of enjoyment from their work while leading a tour, it can reduce their perception of job insecurity. Relationship between workplace fun and service behavior. These findings align with the arguments presented by a prior researcher. In summary, enjoyment stimulates positive emotions and contributes to employees delivering higher quality service. The mediating role of job insecurity between workplace fun and service behavior. In the extant literature, limited effort has been devoted to understanding the mediation effect of job insecurity, explaining the mechanism by which employees' perceptions influence their service behaviors. To fill this gap, the current study proposes a model by positing employees' perceived job insecurity as a mediator in the relationship between workplace fun and service behavior. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Shuying Chang. Would you like to add anything?
Good morning, I'm Mika from National Child University.
Moving ahead with the conference. Next we have please put your questions and feedback regarding the presentation in the chat box. Shuying Chang, would you like to add anything to your presentation?
Any questions? Well, this is part of my research work and still something else still in the process. But over the past 3 years, this is very good time to do this survey because the situation is very obvious for tour leaders. So I think during this period of time, the situation is very vivid for them to reconsider their their work. And now, even though now the border already open, and but I think the type of job for tour leaders always have like a peak and off time is very obvious for them. So their income is not as stable as the normal job. So sometimes the situation, the working condition is quite different from our ordinary jobs. So this is interesting topic for people. And also the another variable I put into this study about workplace fun, because nowadays new generations, they consider so-called life is like, not only work for living, like life should be also be playful. So yeah, I also consider this is very important factor for the future for young generations. Yeah, any feedback, please?
Thank you so much. Please put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. Moving ahead, next presenter for the day is Ming Hie Chen, Graduate Institute of Recreation, Tourism and Hospitality Management, National Chiai University, Taiwan. The topic will be the relationship between tourism image and perceived value, the moderating effect of social media engagement. You may read the abstract on the screen. Moving ahead with the presentation.
Good morning, I'm Mika from National Chiai University. I am honored to join this seminar today, and my topic is the relationship between tourism image and the perceived value, the moderating effect of social media engagement. Before COVID-19, travel was a popular trend and the tourism revenue became an important source of revelation and development for many regions. According to a survey by Taiwan's Tourism Bureau, Ministry of Transportation and Communications, 91% of Taiwanese people engage in domestic travel activity within a year, with a total expenditure of 811.7 billion new Taiwan dollars. 35.2% of people also travel abroad, spending a total amount of 817.5 billion new Taiwan dollars. This year, Taiwan's tourism industry is experiencing a revival. The TTC has stated that the travel and the tourism industry contribute 10.4% to global GDP and supports 10% of total employment worldwide. Furthermore, the TTC is optimistic about the industry's growth, expanding the tourism sector to surpass its size in 2019 by the year 2024. The casual determining factors for travelers in choosing their destination stem from the tourism image of the place. Tourism image refers to the collective belief, impression, idea, and the feeling that people hold about a particular region. A positive tourism image can enhance tourist perceived value and behavior intention toward a tourist destination. Perceived value is a key determinant that influences the intention to revisit a destination. Tourism image information primarily originates of offshore promotions, third-party report, and word of mouth communication. It is disseminated through traditional advertising, word of mouth referrals, as well as online platforms. According to the 2021 Taiwan Media Book, Internet advertising in Taiwan has surpassed television advertising, become the largest media platform. Therefore, many people receive destination images through social media. Pax lecture has primarily discussed how online media influence consumers' perceived value and the purchase intention. Lectures has also explored which type of social media can have an impact on consumers. It is important not to overlook the impacts of consumers' usage and the experience of social media on their beliefs, which can subsequently influence their perspectives on various matters. This experience and belief may serve as significant sources of consumers' perception. Therefore, this study aimed to examine the following two research questions from the perspective of consumers. Tourism image is the perception, viewpoint, or attitudes that individual or collective develop toward a tourist destination through investigation and self-perception. It is the cognitive and evaluative result generated by individual or group regarding a specific travel destination. Tourism image is the result of an individual's long-term processing of visual information source, which subsequently shapes the tourist's perception of the quality of a travel destination. Gartner suggests that the formation of tourism image consists of three interactive components: connective image, affective image, and global image. There are various ways to measure tourism image, including measuring the generation of tourism image, the state of tourism image, and the components of tourism image. In this study, we will focus on measuring the component of tourism image. Consumers' perceived value, perceived quality, and price are considered key factors in determining purchase behavior and product choice. Research shows that perceived value is an important key factor in influence consumers and customers' behavior. Consumers' perception of service qualities plays a significant role in their purchase decision or experience. This experience in turn influences the perceived value consumers derive from the service. Consequently, it is further hypothesized that perceived value affects the intention to repurchase. Patrick developed the cerebral skill based on a lecture reviews, which consists of 5 dimensions: quality, emotional response, minority value, entertainment, price, and reputation. In the past, media was considered solely as a vehicle for advertisement, providing a time and a space to place advertisement and reach consumers. Indeed, the importance of media tool behind advertising has often been overlooked. Consumers sometimes engage with media not only to express interest in purchase products, but also to share and create experience with other users and consumers through social platforms. counter argue that it is a step attention to understand how media integrate into consumers' roles and beliefs rather than simply focusing on whether consumers like the content. For instance, consumers establish social relationships by discussing and sharing the content they read, or they use media communities to contact with others. Therefore, media engagement is further defined as an overall assessment of consumers' involvement with media. The New York Advertising Research Foundation defined engagement as enhanced brand awareness among potential customers through the surrounding environment. Some scholars describe engagement by asking respondents questions such as, will you recommend it to a friend? Does it capture your attention? Do you like it? But this is describes the concentration of engagement rather than engagement itself. The research suggests that conformity behavior has a positive impact on tourism image, and the tourism image have a positive impact on perceived value and behavioral intention. Therefore, we can establish the hypothesis that tourism image has a significant positive impact on perceived value. John A. Wu agreed perceived value, consumer value, and effect benefit as sources of social value and conferred the significant moderating effects of community tips on them. The research indicates the different types of website has varying effects on the destination image, as they reflect the context generated by users. So we can establish hypotheses to social media engagement moderate the relationship between destination image and perceived values. The present study defines tourism image as the emotion and connective perception held by tourists toward a tourism destination. Perceived value refer to consumers' presentation of the quality, emotion, price, behavioral cost, and the reputation of a service or products. Social media engagement is defined as the interaction between consumers and the social media platform, which elicits emotion, thoughts, and often ultimately influence consumers' life. To access the construct, a questionnaire consisting of 74 items was developed based on previous relevant research. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ming, for your wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something?
Hello, good morning and evening, everyone. My name.
Would you like to add something? Ming, am I audible to you? You are on mute.
Oh, thank you. I'm very honored to join this seminar and share my topics.
Thank you. Moving ahead. Please put your questions in the chat box. It will be answered by the speaker. Our last presentation for the day is Edison Yimsuk, Faculty of Engineering, Mahidol University, Nakhon Pathom, Thailand. Topic: Employing the PMC model for the comprehensive assessment of Thailand COVID-19's policies with an investor perspective. You may read the abstract on the screen. Moving ahead with the presentation.
Hello, good morning and evening, everyone. My name is Edison Yimsuk. I'm from Thailand, Mahidol University. First and foremost, I would like to thank you, the committee, for giving me the opportunity to present my own research in this conference. My research topic is employing the PMC model for comprehensive assessment of Thailand COVID policies with an investor perspective. I work with my professor Sotarat Thammabussadi from Mahidol University. I hope that you can find my research useful for the future. Before I get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Edison Yimsuk. I'm from Thailand. I'm currently a graduate student of IT Management, Mahidol University. In my free time, I like running, working out, trekking, and reading books. So next, I would like to give you the agenda for my today's presentation. Firstly, I will talk about problem area and the need of research. Secondly, I will go through the inputs and research methodology. Thirdly, I will show you the results, and afterward we would go through the conclusion respectively. Finally, I will finish this presentation with the discussion. Okay, firstly, I'm going through the problem area. In Thailand, we have been through the critical situation caused by COVID-19, same as other countries. The Thai government have been working all day, all night, trying to reduce the loss as much as possible. One of the tools is emergency policies being greatly announced to help citizens and slow spreading, such as lockdown and country closure policy. At the same time, when these emergency policies were enforced, the stock market was also fluctuated or influenced according to the policies. So it becomes the need of our research is to contribute an effective policy model to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of COVID-19 policies in Thailand with investor perspectives. Why we need the investor perspective? Because we expected that this policy model will cover every indicator which can identify the efficacy of policy as much as possible. So that's the reason we include the investor perspective into one of indicators. This is aiming for policymakers in the next enhancement. So obviously, for the input data, we analyze COVID-19 public policy by the Thai government. So this kind of information are collected to the Thai government website, and they are categorized by 4 groups: containment and closure, health system, economic responses, and miscellaneous. Second, the change of stock price in the same duration of policy enforcement are corrected from the Stock Exchange of Thailand or SETS. And thirdly, the number of daily confirmed cases in Thailand is also taken for the analysis. Afterwards, I'd like to talk about research methodology. This research used Policy Modeling Consistency Index or PMC Index, proposed by Ruiz Estenda from University of Malaya as a main model, and we add stock price change level into one of indicators in the first phase of the model. This model consists of 4 phases. The first one is classification of variables, and the second one is tabulating input output for quantitative evaluation, and the third phase is calculation PMC index score, and finally the fourth phase is construction of PMC surface as shown on figure 4. So the stock price change is designed as one parameter in the first phase. The first phase of PMC model is classification of variables as shown on table 1. So we design 10 main variables x1 to x10 at the beginning following Thailand characteristic, and the level of changing is added as x5. It is compared with the inflation rate in the same duration. For example, if larger is gonna be x5.1. I will explain it later. Next, the sub-variables in each main are then designed as you can see x1.1, x1.2, or x5.1 is like for x5.1 is when the stock has large positive change or more than 5%. X5.2 it means intermediate positive change 3 to 5%, and X5.3 as neutral level around not more than plus minus 3%. This one of the example of main and sub variables. Afterwards, all main and sub variables are tabulated into the input and output table as shown on table 2. This table, all main and sub variables. For the third phase is to calculate PMC score. So we will input policy and match policy context with each sub-variable one by one. If that context is linked to that sub-variable, it will be equal to 1, otherwise equal to 0, following the binary system 0 and 1 as PMC concept, as shown on this equation. Next, for the next calculation process, after we know the score of subvariables, we will find the average of subvariable. Then we will get the average score of that category or the main variables xi as shown on this equation. Finally, the score of each will be sum summarized as equation 3, this equation, to find the total score of PMC index. This. So it means we will find the average of each category, and then we will find the sum for the total PMC index score. So this table, or table 3, show the possible maximum score which we can calculate based on the desired indicators. So the maximum is 7.12 as shown in this table. Final phase of the model is to generate PMC surface by filling the score into 3x3 matrix. Then we will construct PMC surface as equation 4 and figure 5. This one is the final PMC surface that we want. But as you can see, X1 is excluded because that category has less significant weight compared to others. So we're gonna use only X2 to X10. Next, I would like to present the example of results as figure 6. The curfew policy is considered and the PMC score is 5.24, which is in the good level according to the criteria. This criteria. The outstanding is X3 and X8, which are policy level enforcing for the whole nation. X3 is the policy level enforcing, and X8 is policy coverage for all people, respectively, like all ages. And final PMC surface shown on this right side. Next is the example of country closure policy and later business shutdown is also considered, as we are able to notice that PMC score of business shutdown has higher than 2 of country closure policy and like country closure and lockdown policy. They are in the same containment and closure group. So it means the third shutdown policy, especially for the business, doing better with the overall score as 6.11 in the perfect level. Regarding X5, this one, the level of stock change is also in X5.1 or the large positive. So obviously, this time the policymaker can gain the investor sentiment better than previous enforcement, and the PMC surface is shown as the right side for policymaker to review the overall of score. Well, then I'd like to talk about the conclusion of this work. All policies are evaluated and summarized in Table 4, this table. Significantly, we can notice that when the government is up on policy support or X6, the reproduction rate or the infection rate X7 also increase. X6 and X7 also increase. For example, the closure and containment group is sensible. Next, there are positive changes of stock market X5 when X6 or policy support has more support fields. find and exit is relative. As you can see, last positive when exit is higher. And next, about the discussion. After we analyzed and evaluated some processes by our model, we can notice, as a policy maker, like if we expand policy support, the overall score is also increased. Example, the government should announce one policy which supports or angle as much as possible to prevent the overlapping between policy and to reduce the loss. Accordingly, when policy support more, the investor sentiment seems tended to be higher, so the stock price change should be one of consideration to reflect the impact on economy at the beginning. Next, the policy area X2 is also important as the overall score will be higher when the coverage is improved. Finally, for the future work, the findings should be considered with other relative stock factors, such as efficient market hypothesis or EMH and random walk model. To understand investor behaviors, it will be more better if we can link the fluctuation of stock with investor behaviors, so the scoring process would be better. Secondly, for the further data analysis, techniques should be applied to limit human bias. For the currently, we are using the manual in scoring process. So if we can change it into data analysis, such as text mining, it will help in this limitation. So that's about my research. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that this research will be advantageous for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Edison, for the wonderful presentation. Would you like to add something more?
Okay, thank you for your attention. This research was conducted in last year before the opening of the Thai borders. So the main focus was the COVID-19 policies. That time, I think this kind of situations is quite new for us back then. So I think investor was like a bit very panicked. It may be the reason why the stock was dramatically decreased at the beginning stage. However, we should test this model with the current situation as well and compare the result with that period of time. And I think investor behavior that I mentioned on the future work, it should be one of the considerations factors. It's like it will help us to know the investor behavior, why the stock was decreased or increased, and for sure it will link to the COVID-19 policy as well. And if you want to see the result or result of my testing or my findings, you can contact me by email. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants can leave their feedback and questions regarding the presentation in the chat box. Now we have come to the end of this conference. Before ending the conference, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinion about the conference. Maria, would you like to share your feedback with us?
Sorry.
Would you like to know? Would you like to share your feedback about the conference with us?
When, yes. I would like to thank you for allowing me to join in this conference, international conference. It is a pleasure to be part of this conference. So it's my first time, and I'm happy to present the my Universidad de Manila, and also to be part of the Eurasia family. Thank you. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you so much. Edison, would you like to share your feedback with us?
First of all, I would like to thank you, our committee, that for this opportunity that giving me. Honestly, is this kind of online conference is my first time for the online conference, and in this field, actually, I most relative to engineering more than this like a human societies, and this time is quite, I think is for me is good experience, good opportunity. Thank you.
That's glad. Thank you. Dr. Michael, would you like to share your feedback? Ming, would you like to add something? Okay. With great pleasure and enthusiasm, I would like to conclude that conference was a great success. Many people have contributed in different ways to turn this event into a smoothly running conference with very interesting presentations. This conference was result in a good discussion and networking. I owe a gratitude to all the presenters and patient listeners, to coordinator of the whole staff of Eurasia Research for their constant support. I would also like to thank all the universities and institutes who have sponsored our participants and people who have directly or indirectly contributed in the smooth conduct of this conference. Some of our upcoming conferences, we have Bali in July 2023, Amsterdam in August 2023, London, Rome, Budapest, Lisbon in September 2023. Please refer to your friends and colleagues. We hope we will see you again in our future conferences. Thank you all. We are closing the event. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.